So I want to admit, so I don't know. Well, actually, this is not really like part two because it's if you're wondering, but then I with the recording stopped with the previous one, so I'm continuing with this. If you're hearing it on the, but it's not really like whatever, you know. So just so you don't have to worry about that. But I'm going to like go between some of the messages I seen, however, just kind of like however. So yeah, So let's see. I asked him I asked him from one before on Friday, like, or Saturday actually, which is not gonna make sense between the days, so don't pay too much attention to that. But it's like it says I said it from before, like I just told him I'll be single for the rest of my life. I just know it right now and forever in my heart. I know who I would rather be with for the rest of time, and it truly would be like heaven for me. But knowing that it won't ever happen, so yeah. Have a good night. And then I said love you too as well. And I said I just said it won't happen because life for me doesn't work like that too often, whereas it would be rare for someone like me to be with a guy just as great as you are. I mean, could you imagine it that? And then I said, I'll just stop talking now, sorry. And he says, sorry I was asleep. I'm not mad at you and what you said. You're a great guy. And I said, can I ask, if you were single and all, would you think I'm dateable in your eyes, if that makes sense? He said, and then he said, yes, if I was single, I would totally date you. I'm like, for real? He said, yes, for real. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And he says, oh. And I'm like, can I ask, why would you want to date me? I want to know. He says, because of your personality and how positive and caring you are. And I said, oh, you're so sweet for saying that. Thank you. He said, you're welcome. I said, I would honestly treat you like royalty. And then he said, I know you would. I would love that. And then I'm like, what about my looks? How would you rate it from 1 to 10? Then he says, I would rate you a 9. And I said, do you want to see a recent photo of me? He said, sure. And then I sent him the recent photo with my purple hair and all. Dark purple hair. And I said, what do you think, to be honest? And he said, I would rate you a 9. And he said, 9 for looks? Or I'm saying 9 for looks? And he said, yes. And I said, do you think I'm cute looking or something else? Or something else? He says, I think you're cute looking. And I said, am I your type at all? Just curious. He said, yeah, you are. I'm like, you're going to make me cry. And he said, oh, it's okay. And I'm like, those are happy tears. He said, oh, yay. And then moving on to the conversation, I told him if love you, I'll talk to you since you're busy. He said, I love you too. I'm not busy. I said, okay, how are you doing? If it's ever awkward that I say I love you, let me know. I'm not trying to set boundaries. And then he said himself, in his own words, I'm doing good, and it's okay to say you love me. I'm like, really? He said, yeah, it's not awkward at all. And I told him I love you absolutely to death. You have no idea just how I feel. And I told him I put like a Disney tone, notification sound on, for when he messaged me, and he says, good morning. I love Disney so much. I have a rough night last night and went to bed early. I'm sorry I should have said something. I said, that's fine, dude. I understand. If you ever want to talk about it to feel better, I'm always here for you. Also, good morning to you. And then he says, I asked him, how are you feeling? And then he says, I'm feeling better now. I just felt depressed last night, missing how my family used to be. I said, I am really glad you are feeling better today. It is completely understandable to miss how things used to be. Family stuff like that can hit really hard, especially at night. I'm always here if you ever want to talk or vent about it. He says, thank you a lot. Of my family just doesn't talk anymore. I miss that togetherness. I said, I hear you. It really hurts when that togetherness fades. My family went through the same shift. I do not talk to my cousins, aunt, uncle, or sister like I used to in the past, and so I definitely get how much you miss those days. And I said, hugged you. And then I said, and I said, I love you, and I want to hold you, my arms to make you feel better. Are you okay? Do you still want to talk? And he says, yes, I'm okay. Thank you for saying all that. It makes me feel less alone. And then it says, I really want to be there hugging you tightly and loving you so much. You seriously mean the whole galaxy to me, Michael. And that he says, thank you. You mean a lot to me. Your words make me feel better. And I told him, I'm like an empathetic angel to you. He says, yes, you're an empathetic angel. I told him I will be honest. If we were together and you told me this, I would always ask you to cuddle together and hold you in my arms and maybe even kiss you on the forehead and tell you that you're going to be okay. He says, aw, that sounds sweet. That's sweet. Sounds so sweet. I'm like, as sweet and cute as you are? I'm like, and I said, sorry. And then he says, aw, with as shy as he is. And then I said, yeah, and I thought he was talking to other people online, and he said, no, I barely have any friends and all that stuff. But I'll skip all that, and then something, and I sent him my music and all, and everything, and then and I'm gonna have to, for a second here, not say nothing because it's gonna be loud. So hold on 1 second. I am outside, by the way, so just anyone knows, but no one cares, I don't think. Then after I sent him the music, he says, I'll listen to it now. I'm like, what do you think? He says, I love the song. It's such a vibe. You're good at making music. And I'm like, thank you for saying that. And I said, hey, Michael, I looked up the kind of love I believe we have, and it would be a platonic love with a little romance in it for good measure. And he says, oh, okay. That sounds good to me. I'm glad that we have each other. I'm like, me too, love you. And I said, wait, do you not agree with that we have that kind of love? You can be honest with me. And everything. And he says, I think we have that kind of love that you say it makes sense to me. I always answer your questions, you know. And I said, but and so so after a while, I'm like, I said like and I told him, I think in the previous sentence, like, actually I'll skip that. And then he says, I love you too. You want to have a good soul and with a heart. And he sent me 2 images of himself, not nude images or nothing, but just actual, just normal, just him of something he got from online. He says that me, and I'm like, you look absolutely gorgeous. He said, thank you. You don't think my lips are too big? He said, and then my heart went, as he said that, my heart was racing, like, in a way, because when he said that, and I'm like, oh no, or I'm like, oh no, they are definitely lips I want to do something with. And he says, aw, yay, then they look good then. And I'm like, when you said that about your lips, my heart was racing, and LOL. And he says, I love that. And I'm like, what about my lips? And he says, I like your lips. They are perfect enough to kiss. Then he said, yes, they are. And I'm like, oh my, I really wish I could, honestly. He says, oh, that's so sweet of you. I said, I would honestly feel far worse. And he says, I'm sure I would too. And I told him, you're going to make me cry again. And he says, oh, as long as they are happy tears. And I'm like, they are. And he said, good. And I said, and I really didn't mention that. And I did say to him, I really, really miss you so fucking much, dude, from the past. He says, I missed you a lot too. I have forgotten how great this could be. I isolated myself and locked myself away from everyone. It feels nice to talk to someone besides my boyfriend and girls. And I'm like, and I asked him about, the girls, and he says, says because they're hitting on him and stuff like that, whatever. And then I said, I mean, I wouldn't blame them one bit. You're the cutest emo kid on the block, and he's not a kid, of course, but from an adult perspective, I just said kid because it's kind of like he's that, like the kid on the block, that sort of thing, it's just a reference of, whatever. And he says, oh yeah, oh yes, I'm trying to grow my hair longer again so I can be true emo. I'm like, I absolutely love emo boys, especially you. I used to be emo long ago in a faraway land. You there? I don't want to stop talking to you. And he said, yeah, I'm still here. I had a feeling you were emo, I could sense it. I'm like, we don't ever have to stop talking again. And I'm like, which was in a sense a lie, but then again, that was not his fault, and it's like, and I said, can I ask you some personal questions? And then if you don't mind me asking, and I sent him a picture of myself with, back then, and I'm like, here was me back then, and do you like him? And my hand was like covering my mouth, with a bunch of bracelets on my arm, and it's in black and white and all. And he says, you look great, and yes, you can ask me anything I like. Which he probably said you like, And then I said, are you top or bottom? Then he says, I'm versatile. It depends on my mood. What about you? I said, same, Ashley. He said, oh, awesome. He says, but if I were with you, I definitely would be a top. That's what I said. And then I said, can I ask how long in inches? And I'll tell you mine. And then he says, I'm 6 inches. What about you? And I'm like 7 inch. Do you like? And I said, more like, and then he said, wow, that's big and I love it. That. He says, do you believe me? He said, yes, I do. And I said, do you want to see it? He said, yeah, I do. And then I said, I have a pic for you if you're curious. He says, okay, but my boyfriend cannot know. And, as far as that went, I should have not done that. But then again, he was, it's like he didn't quite like stop me exactly. And we didn't end it there, or he never took offense of it. And whatever he said okay, but my boyfriend cannot know. And I said, okay, is he seeing our conversation or does he look at your phone? And then what he said in his own words is, he used to look in my phone, but he hasn't in several months. He cannot see our conversation, and plus, I'll delete it after you send it. And I asked him, do you want to save it on the phone? And I don't mind if you do. And he said, sure, I'll save it. And then I said, 1 second. And then I sent it, the photo, and then, and then he said, what do you think? And I sent him the nude photo, but he said, and so what do you think? And he says, he literally said this in his own words, which is, I will always remember this forever because I have the screenshots, but also it's not even a memory thing, but it's like, yeah. He said, holy shit. It's huge and long, and I love it so much. And this time with a, like a smiley face with the hearts around it, and then the other emoji is the eyes becoming big hearts, And so he said, and then I said, did you save it? And he said, yes, I did. And then I said, I wish I could see yours, but I understand if you can't. Which I thought he was going to be like, oh, I can't, I don't send images, or I don't send whatever, blah, blah. I thought he was going to say all that. Instead, he says, I'll try to sneak a pic later tonight when I get home. I'm like, oh my gosh, really? And then he says, and then I said, if you have to, you can use, then he can use my pic to get going and whatever and blah, blah. And I said, and I asked, is your boyfriend longer than mine? And in a great response, he told me himself in his own words is, no, you're bigger than my boyfriend. And I'm like, holy shit, really? In that sarcastic way, and or not sarcastic, but like whatever. I'm like, how long is he? And then he said, well, I won't mention that part. I'll just mention mine and his, but I won't mention his. But let's just say it's 2 inches less than mine, if you remember from the previous conversation or whatever I said. So, or this one too. So 2 inches less than mine. He says he wishes it was bigger, and I'm like, and then I said that's the average in all the United States, which, if you can guess what that would be, it's whatever. He says, well, I like bigger than average. I'm not your average boy. And I did not realize about that joke until later on. Not really a joke, but like where he said, like the pun where it's like, I'm not your average boy. It's like, and I'm like, oh my. And then I asked, then then it was very sexual in that sense of what I said, and he said some whatever, and I'm like, and I kept going with that, and he said, and all that stuff. I won't even continue with that, and and he was gonna send me an image of something else, but I told him that can he send both, and he tries to, but and I said, but it's like and I said, can I ask, you don't mind talking about this all with me? He says, no, I don't. but I probably shouldn't be talking this way, but it feels so good. And I'm like, let's keep talking about it then. He says, as long as my boyfriend doesn't find out, he said. I'm like, is he with you? And he said, yeah, he's on the other side of the room. But I said, okay. And there was one message I have deleted, but I will mention it on here. As just, I asked him, can I ask you with all honesty, if you, like, would you ever, would you want to be with me instead of him? Which was really stepping over the boundary of the line, which that's why I'm sorry for saying that. I'm truly sorry for saying that. Like, I'm not, I said what I said, and I take fault of that completely. I should have never said that, but, I just wanted to see. That was my mind wanting to see and curious, but I was stepped over the boundary, and I think he might have seen that message, even though of his boyfriend, even though he said he never did. It was, or deleted. He's still seen it, or whatever. I guarantee he probably seen it some way or another or a glance of it, something. He says, and I said, I deleted the message for your safety. Are you okay? I'm sorry for asking that question. I was only curious. And he says, yes, I'm okay. I deleted the messages. And I said, I told him, did he try to see your phone? Did he see anything of the conversation? I'm sorry. I guess I would be worried and have anxiety issues if someone as cute as you are talking to people online and talking dirty. I can understand how someone would feel. And like I said, but for me, I know if you were with me, unless if we're not married or nothing, I would allow you to have the freedom you deserve as long as you don't cheat. Please tell me what's going on through your mind. I'm so sorry for confusing you and hopefully not being stressed out too much. I care about you a lot, and we talk later if you want with the 2 hearts. And then he said, thank you for, and from the times that I mentioned it, which was, and it took 10 minutes to respond to that, saying, thank you for giving me the freedom. If we were together, he did not see any of our conversation, which I doubt that very much. I care about you a lot too. I crave to be free. I don't like feeling trapped. A lot of guys try to control me. That's what he's all said. And that's what he said in his own words. And it's not like I'm creating a trial here of sort, but I can give you my honest opinion afterwards, which, just saying at the very end. So, and it says, hey, and then he said, and I said, hey, I'm back. Are you alone? He said, yeah. What's up? He said, and I said, do you think you can send me the 2 pics that is in G? And it's like, however, he says, and then I said, if you don't want to send it, that's fine. And then 10 minutes later, he said, I will send it. Just haven't got a chance yet. And I said to him, like, love you. I love you too. He said, and I said, can I ask you something from the past? I remember when we first met and you told me you thought of me as an older brother. What changed your mind from that to now in a sense of attraction? He says, your personality. You were, and I said, you were attracted to me back then? He said, no, it developed. I'm like, when did you become attracted to me? He says, when we started talking again. I'm like, back then or now? And I said, actually, what did I say to you that fell for me? He says, it was everything out together, all the nice things, and that's what he basically said to me, and that was the very last thing he said to me. And, hold on one second. So, there was more to that probably of the not really more to that of the same conversation that ended, with whatever I said afterwards. I don't know whatever he's seen after, but it was the very next day when I woke up, and it was around 11, 12, 10 or 11 actually, or somewhere around there today, or not today, yesterday, that I don't know if it was yesterday or today. I think it was earlier today. I know I blocked that he blocked me, But because I noted when I looked at I seen that he wasn't online. I was gonna go on his Facebook to see how long it was been since he woke up or whatever, and it show whatever hours and that he was sleeping and whatever, or no, it's not on there, like 9 or 10 hours it said, or something around there, and then it showed, but instead of showing his profile, it actually showed like in the settings of the profile conversation we had, it said voice and video, and I'm like, where I already knew, I'm like, where's the profile part? So that, and I'm like, and I already knew automatically, like, that was already happening, and I just went on Facebook, searched his name, looked it up, and it says page not existing, because he blocked me. And he didn't, and I don't believe, and this is from what I think here, and this is an honest judgment. It is not, whether it's to be taken lightly or whatever, and I'm hoping that he actually is listening to this, because I want to, express my mind, but I'm not going to say fully insult him, I'm just gonna say what is in my mind, So my opinion, so this is my honest opinion right now. So I believe, because I wouldn't think that he would be blocking me, because he is a good friend to me and a caring friend and supporting and all that stuff. He loves me, and he thinks of me of whatever and everything like that. And I would think he would still do that regardless of what happened. He blocked, it was his account that blocked me, which I don't think it was him. It was his controlling boyfriend, very controlling boyfriend. And I told him, from a previous point, that I would understand from the logical side of things, from the psychological side of things is, I understand that his boyfriend probably has a lot of anxiety and stress, and about and everything like that. But he doesn't but as far as I understand about his condition, what he, from the romance side of things, they're not, they love each other, they take care of each other, they watch movies, probably, they do walk around and this and that and whatever other stuff, but from the romantic side of things, it's not there, fully, and like I'll mention like the pros and cons here about what I about what I think in my life, in my sense. It's like, for one, like for the pros, and not really even the pros or cons. It's more of just like the good things about between me versus his controlling boyfriend is that I am bigger by 2 inches. I am, I am willing. I am, and I am large. Well, I'm not large down there, but I am. But like in the, but you know what I mean. Like it's kind of thing. That's just a compliment in my sense. And he said, and when he said that then his boyfriend was, that I'm larger than his boyfriend, I'm like, damn. That's double the compliment, in that sense. But another thing that that I know in positive is that I feel like I am more caring and supportive than him. Now, I don't know him to that any degree, so I can't really, like, anything I say about him in sense is just more of a theory than anything, and it's probably in my own opinion. So nothing I say is to be fully 100% true, but but whether I say anything about him or not, it's like that's not no one knows who I'm talking about except for me. Well, not even me. It's him. The Michael I was talking to. But I do feel like I am more supportive, more caring, more proactive in that sense of everything. I'm more loving, I feel like I have more love, I'm more empathetic. I'm more, diligent of everything of him. I feel more, secured, more protected, by each other and, to Michael and all, and I, and, like there's a lot of other positive stuff I can just name off, but I don't think, but the positives are one side, only the one side. There's a negative as well. So I would say for the cons, is that he is, well, the cons for my sense, I guess, and whatever it is that I'm not, with him. I think that's basically it. I mean, I have different opinions and different whatever and different interests and all that stuff, but that doesn't mean that really anything except for my, my personality which is positive. But I overstepped my boundaries and everything like that. So, I am terribly, like, god awfully sorry that I said anything like that to you, to him, and to you, Michael. For if you're listening, like I want to make it up. I want to make it right and everything. But I sent you a very long message on Messenger. If you ever, hear this message, me talking about this on here, and you just, like, and you're curious about it, like you can, you can probably unblock me and, on, as soon as it is your phone and it is your account, I would think you can unblock me. I don't see what's wrong with that, in that sense, but you can, if you had to reblock me, you can, or we can talk a little bit and then, and then you block me and then we can, we can do other stuff and whatever, or discuss other stuff. But, but I don't believe that you have blocked me at all. I believe it's your boyfriend who did. And if you actually controlled your phone by blocking me through, because of your boyfriend telling you to do that, I mean, that's not going to change anything of my opinion about you. Like, nothing you do would change my inner feelings for you and anything like that. I love you to death, and I wish for you for the best. I don't really wish for your boyfriend the best. And he's probably not a bad person at all. What I was saying from earlier is, I know it probably doesn't matter so much anymore, but I will mention it's like, if I would honestly be too as well, have some anxiety or stress about from the mental psychological side of me, for someone that's cute looking and the whole package basically. I wouldn't want for anyone to steal you away from me. I wouldn't want you to consider anything from anyone else, like going to anyone else, and all their stuff. And I want you all to myself. I honestly would. But I would give you the freedom. But what I said in the messages, for you, if you're listening, Michael, for what I said to you in the messages is all real. That I would give you the freedom, as long as we're not married or anything. As long as you don't cheat on me, that's all I care about. That's all I care. I know you wouldn't cheat on me. I know you wouldn't do all that. You can find, if you found someone cuter and hotter than me and other stuff with a larger, and a better personality and other stuff, and you decide to, that you decide to travel to wherever and you see that person and whatever, I would, I wouldn't want to, I would feel so terribly bad about what happened about myself, about you, and all everything. I would cry every night. I would do whatever, because I know something that, I know, whether I've seen it happen or whatever, or know that it happened. And you're not gonna tell me, of course, because I don't think you would be that honest with me. But, as I'm talking to whoever, blah, 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 or never, or maybe not at all. It's not an open conversation, or it's not an open relationship to no extent of that, where it doesn't seem like that. That I wouldn't see why you would tell him anything of me as well. And vice versa and whatever. And if you did tell him anything, it's I'm not really worried about that or nothing. What can he do? But but because nothing I said, because everything I said is not to be, say written up, and nothing is legal, nothing has happened. Basically what I'm saying is, at this point right now, which I would hope it makes sense, is, you understand, Michael, that yes, you and your boyfriend are together. Yes, you both love each other. Yes, everything happens. 1,000 reasons plus that you two are together. But if anything you do externally, if you don't take action upon it, in the sense of not just talking about it, but actually put no action towards it, you're not, if you ever meet, it's more because I would think to your boyfriend, for how he thinks of that, is that if anything, that he's afraid that you will go to me at a later point, or if he died one day and whatever, and then you would go to me and all that stuff, that wouldn't happen, that he would think that would happen and all. And I'm not gonna, I don't know, so I wouldn't, and no one would know what the future will hold. And I'm not gonna, like, bother saying, like, oh, yes, it will, or whatever. No. I'm saying that there's no, that I don't know. I really don't know. It's not like I don't want to know or whatever. I want to believe in what I want to be true, but it's not going to happen as far as I understand. I can understand. I won't answer fully, but I'll say, like, it may not, most likely not going to happen. But I want it to happen. I wanted to meet up with you and blah, 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 but it's not. But, as long as you're with someone like that, like him, whoever, I know he's different to you than he is with me, and I'm not going to ever be friends with him and blah, 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 all their stuff. I understand all that. I know all this already. Even if I don't know a lot of everything and to be everything, I don't need to know everything to know that I'm not going to be friends with him. I don't need to know everything to know that he is a good, whether it's a good person or a bad person. He's good to you. He is with you. He is a motherfucking, lucky son of a bitch, to be with you. You are a rare fucking gem. So rare that it's, it's hard to find. And it probably didn't take long for him to find you, but it wasn't. But for however your relationship story happened or started, it's like, that's not my business. It'd be interesting to know, but I wouldn't ask you. I would more ask. I would not even ask you nothing of it. I would be more like, you told me what you told me, and it was just the icing on the cake, basically, and whatever. And I know I went too far into it. I know there was 2 or 3 messages, I believe, that caused the issue of him blocking me. And that's it, sort of thing. Other than just you deleting the messages on your end. That I understand I don't know what he read or whatever. Okay? I don't know what you deleted or how many messages you deleted, and especially of photos and whatever, and that's like more photo and all that, and just whatever. He didn't, I guess if you delete the whole entire message, that's one thing, But I don't think he did, because I still have access to it. So I don't know what. So I don't know what you did. If it's just removing it on your end, but not on both ends. Because there's a way for you to unsend something just on your end versus both. And I have the proof, the data, the screenshots and everything. I have it all. But as far as say sexual as a wind, Michael, I am sorry. I know what I said to you was wrong. I overstepped my boundary. I have pushed you to the absolute limit, if not more, and over the limit. And even when I asked you, like, is it okay that you're talking this with me? You said no, I don't mind, and I know I'm not supposed to, but it feels so good. As much as my mind wanted to stop, I just kept going with it. I don't know why. I just kept going with it. My mind, it really does feel so good. Talk about something being more free. Why should it be restricted whatsoever? Honestly, I don't believe. I believe that say if you were to, just for example, if you were to I was talking to one of my 2 one of my friends about this, not about this conversation, but about or nothing of the conversation. I told him that just, like, would it be cheating if, pictures were sent to each other and this and that, however. He said to me, and my friend said to me, which made sense, what made sense is, as long as, it is technically cheating, and especially if by what happens of instance. And I told him, like, if no action is taken, then is it still cheating? He says, well, technically, yeah, because on the one hand, you're taking the actions of sending each other images and other stuff, and talking sexually. On the other end, that's not where it's not technical, is where you're not taking actions in meeting it with each other. If it never meets in person in the future, or now or the future, on this, and it was just all like kind of like a sexual role play, basically, is what it was. Like nothing, like everything I said was to you was fully 100% true with you. I was not lying to you, and I was not trying to, whatever. I know it, but what we did was more role playing, because it wasn't like, because I know if I really met you in person, and you're by yourself and whatever, I would talk to you first. I would honestly talk to you. I would look at you a lot. I would be so kind and sweet and everything. I would not even act upon that. I would just more act upon your end of what you do, in sense of actions that I'll like either enhance it or kind of make it better, but I will act upon your actions, in sense. You tell me something, I'll respond with whoever, I'm a very nice person, very caring, very loving, very supportive. All my friends say I am. What is, like, I'm not a bad person. I'm not mean. I'm not neglecting, abusing, whoever. But I will say I have abused and neglected our friendship to the extent of where I was like, talking dirty to you, and I was never talking down to you. I was just talking dirty to you and all, but but if you want to think about it, it's more role playing, because it wasn't like I was in the same area as you, or in the same city, or same whatever other, like, where it's like, oh, we would I want to meet up with you, and or we would, or I would say, like, come around the corner or something, and whatever, and then you would just, of course, delete those messages and whatever, and then, but of course then meet up with me and blah blah blah. Like, none of that happened, because none of that is real. But all my feelings are real. All what I said is real. But why I'm saying it's like acting, like it's role playing, is because, it was just talking to each other, being open with each other, but it wasn't an open relationship. I wasn't trying to steal away from your boyfriend or anything like that. I would never do that. I'm honestly, seriously, like, saying that with all my heart. I would never do that. I wouldn't even imagine that, because what's more worse is not, what's more worse is if my happiness means that you're sad, you're depressed, and or I took you away from it, and you just, and now it's all ruined now because of me. But yet but you're with me now because or whatever, and it's my happiness for your sadness. No, I fucking would not. No, I would never fucking do that. I would never want my happiness to be your sadness. I wouldn't ever want you to be fucking hurt, disgusted, whatever, with me, or anything. I wouldn't hurt you. I wouldn't even touch you in the sense of hurting you. I wouldn't, when I say by touching, I meant to say like, I'm referring to like saying, I would never hurt you, I would never abuse you, I would never assault you, I would never do anything to you. In that sense, I would never neglect you, I would never like physically hurt you, I would never push you away. I would not ever want to. I don't care how mad we get with each other. I would never ever want to push you away because I know every little action I do, every little thing I say makes a bigger difference in the future. Makes a true difference in the future. But I would honestly be jealous too if I were your boyfriend. I would be honestly jealous too. Seriously, I would be. But at the same time, I would be mature enough to understand that you're in the same house with me, in the same area with me, either living with me or whatever, or not, for me to like do, say if we were together of sexual nature, or whatever, anything like that, anything else. I know because you're doing it with me, and not with someone else. I know from that maturity, from that mature side, and from that understanding. It's like understanding that like I'm not, that you're not really like cheating on me or whatever. Although you probably are. Although I would kind of hate in a way or think too so much outside the box. Like, once I already know it, it's like too late to reverse that or to forget about it. It'll be like, but I'll be thinking like, oh, do you like if I was like thinking, you're thinking about someone else when we're doing it together, or whatever. That's gonna be like, that's to my mind that will be like torturing, and it'll be like a resonating in my mind, like back of like resonating back and forth, resonation, and it's gonna hurt me more than it will hurt you, because no matter how much I want to not believe that you're telling, because then, and you're telling me the truth or not, that, I want to, that I just, the only way I would find out is if you show me your phone or whatever. And honestly, that to me sounds like, I would be controlling of you. And no, that is not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that. I did not say it like that or any sense. I take responsibility for what I say in actions. But I would never control you. I usually would control a situation as, in the sense of, that I would usually control the situations of like, or like, if we were together and stuff, and we were of that nature, of the inappropriate nature or sexual nature, that is, we would, I can control some of that, however, but I wouldn't control you as far as that. I mean, it doesn't even matter. It really doesn't even matter. Like, anything, I'm sorry that, I love you so much. I really do. From the bottom of my heart and my world. in the galaxy of mine. I would not want to ever hurt you. Never in my life. You mean the world to me. And I would honestly like, like I love you. I would love you. Love you so much. I hope for the best, and I hope that you see my messages, my new messages on there, even if it's the last one that you see. And if we ever get to talk again and chat in the future, I hope we're still friends, and I hope that we can, we can talk and whatever, and whether and if you don't want to talk about anything open-minded like that again, I won't do that. I won't do anything that you don't want to do anymore. I respect you, and I respect the heck out of you, and I don't want to do anything to ruin it. And I hope that we're still friends, and I hope that we're still, and I still, always care for you, always help, whatever. But if you really don't feel the same way for me, or if you do, I hope you do. But if you don't, then, yeah. So, but I'm sorry that that I got you in trouble with your boyfriend. I'm sorry that I have overstepped my boundaries with you. I'm sorry that I was very neglecting and abusing of our friendship. I'm sorry that I have ever forced you in asking a question. I'm sorry that that I have asked you the questions I did. I'm sorry for everything. I'm sorry that I was a bad friend. I'm sorry that I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't trying at all to steal you away from them. But I hope that, and we can still be friends in the future. For all, even if we're not on Facebook, we can be friends forever. Even in heaven, in the future. I'm really gonna miss you, dude. I'm really gonna miss you, Michael. I'm so sorry. I didn't think it was gonna happen that right away. I knew eventually it probably was gonna block me and whatever, and as much as I want to say stuff about your boyfriend and whatever, that's not me at all. He is very demanding, controlling of you, and probably have a ton of anxiety and stress on him because he doesn't want to lose you. And that is typical. That is very, very normal. That's very typical. That's typically normal. Not very typical of him, but that's typically normal of someone who is in a very caring and loving relationship, that they don't want to lose that person. I would never want to lose you too. So I understand from his perspective. I just hope that, you two, I hope that you and mainly are very well and very positive always. Never think of the negatives, always think of the positives. always keep a positive mind. Convert the negatives into a positive. And for reinforcement, reinforcing your mind. Having the strength and the courage to do stuff that you do, and if you feel like if you're controlled, Michael, then do all you can in your life, because it's your life, not their life, but your life. If you love them so much or care for them, but yet you're afraid that you're gonna lose them because you love them so much that you don't want to. That you don't want to do whatever, that you don't want to say nothing that would break you guys up or anything else. I understand that. Like, I'm not, and I would never ask you to do anything like that. But don't let anyone control you. Control yourself. You're an individual. You're a loving, sweet heart of a person, individual. An empathetic angel yourself. You're loving, down to earth. I want to watch all your videos and your new ones. Maybe I hope one day you mention about me, maybe in a different third party sense, but mention about me in that video or something or whatever. Or my initials, EB, or something. Show me that that you care, and whatever, and we can connect, and we'll do it. I want to connect with you as much as you probably would like to with me, but we can find ways to do that without, too much interference, if but if you don't want me to, of course, I'm not going to try anything, except for just recording this and posting it on YouTube and whatever else, So if you're listening to this still, Michael, and or whatever, thank you so much for everything you have said to me, and for being the kindest, sweetest, living honest to God, the sweetheart. You being the guy the total package that I'm looking for. And, you have it all. I'm sorry I pushed boundaries. I'm sorry that if I done that. I wasn't trying to steal you away from him. But my feelings were so strong that I just wanted, you didn't say nothing that would stop me or whatever. You didn't say stop it or whatever, or I don't want to talk about this anymore or nothing. You just let it happen, and you let me to ask you, be open with you and open-minded, because it was free. It was more freeing to talk to each other. That's what it was. But you're so sweet, so down to earth. Never lose that. Never, ever lose that, Michael. Never lose that. I love you to death, and always will in my dreams, and my heart, and my soul, and my galaxy. You'll always be a part of my world. And I really hope that we get to talk in the future, and maybe one day you get to know each other in person. Maybe. I'm not gonna get my hopes high, but I'm hoping that we can talk to each other again soon. Okay. Love you again. Thank you for everything, for the friendship that you have spent, and I hope that I hope you understand everything that I'm saying, and hopefully you understand how sorry I am. And read the message I sent you, the last one. And by the way, I do want to answer the question I asked from before, of saying something like, Why for something? Why does a world that gives you something great in life takes it away from you? Why? You know? And to be honest with you, Michael, and everyone else, I do not know. I do not know. I want to know, I wish to know, but I don't know. Because the world hates me. I can just say that, I can just say that. The world hates me. The world doesn't see us ever being together. Never sees us to be friends. The world just hates. The world just really hates me. And only me. It just hates me. I don't know. I want to be positive about this, but I don't. I'm gonna probably just end up crying tonight and for a while. Because I'm just gonna be emotional. I'm just gonna think about. I know we never met in person, Michael, but but everything you said to me from the past up to now, it resonates with me. You are the fucking total package that I am as the perfect. It's basically say like the perfect boyfriend to me if we were together, and the perfect friend as well. Not just boyfriend, but friend as well. I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm just only talking about boyfriend here, but I'm sorry. Anyways, before I say anything stupid more, I'm sorry. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying, however you think about it, resonate with you. Be positive, stay down to earth, stay positive, stay everything. Be positive and have a good life, a great life, a wonderful life. And I hope we talk soon. Love you. And goodbye.